You know, I don't want us to take too much time this morning. There's one question I definitely want to fit in because I want to look to the future on this. You know, if you look ahead, you know, 1, 3, 5 years from now, you know, where is big data going? And I guess businesses are wondering that because they want to know how to invest in this. You know, Richard, what would you say to people if you know, if they want to know where is big data going to be 36 months from now, and how would that influence the way I'm going to invest in this? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think the point there is, you know, if you shouldn't necessarily be focusing on big data as a you know, as a thing. It's not an initiative. It's just a tool, and that's basically the thing there. And it's an enabling tool. So you need to take a step back and look at your business more holistically and say, now I have this capability. I have this fantastic tool. Where should I be applying it? And you know, if your business is, you know, Internet of Things and connected devices, it's clearly an enabler. Retail obviously they've jumped on the technology very quickly. They understand the power and the benefit of connecting you know, individual stores and human activity and using that data. And likewise with other organizations as well, you know, telecommunications organizations, banks, they're taking a step back and saying, how can I leverage this technology and make my business more fluid and efficient.
Joel, what does your crystal ball tell you about where this is all going, say, 3 to 5 years from now?
You know, my guess is the gentleman who said, you know, people aren't going to talk about big data. They're going to talk about, you know, the tools they have to do their job. They're going to move beyond. I mean, something like 70–80% of businesses are run on Excel spreadsheets or maybe Google spreadsheets. But instead of being run on a spreadsheet, they're going to be running on purpose-built applications that answer specific, repetitive, ongoing problems so that they can focus on doing better. And I think that it's just going to become more and more specific.
So you're talking about almost a niche application as opposed to this big sort of genie-like thing that we can ask a deep question of and it can crunch it, almost like Watson. You know, Watson is this paradigm for big data. So it's going to be less about Watson than it is this sort of a niche application that can answer one specific question for us.
So if you think about what Watson is, people build applications on Watson to answer specific questions. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we have not yet built a machine, maybe Anjit knows of one, that you can throw any question and it will come up with a reasonable answer. That, you know, Google's trying to do that, but with the Google search, but you know, there is no way to be that generic because the map, the things, the weights of different pieces of data, the statistical profiles that matter are different for different questions. Anjit?
Okay, so I got to take this one. So, 2 examples. Sears looking at retail data, 5 minutes. So never looked at their data, never knew their questions, analyzed in 5 minutes. McKinsey looking at 30 million patients, looking at healthcare cost increases, never looked at the data. 2 hours, it was 30 million patients, million variable combinations. HP, invoice discrepancy. Now, unless you're telling me there's something common between invoice discrepancy, patient health records, and Sears' retail, I would say absolutely it is possible for technology to do everything. In fact, I loved it when you were talking about Excel. The problem is people think it's harder than it is. Yes, it took us 8 years of research to build it, but now what we have done is you can go into Word and PowerPoint and choose a big data source. You can choose a Hadoop repository. You can choose SAP HANA and just say, well, tell me about revenue. Or tell me
you can go into Word and access Hadoop. Work me through this one. This is new to me.
So this just got released. You probably saw an announcement 2 weeks back from BeyondCore and Microsoft called BeyondCore App for Office, where you could do data from Excel and analyze it and put it into Word and PowerPoint with a click. Okay. So it tells you the story of your data, creates the slides and everything. So then we had one of our biggest partners in big data come to us and say, can't you just point it at our big data source? So we just built that, and it's getting announced in 2 weeks at a conference. But the point is, all you're doing in Word or PowerPoint is pointing yourself at a big data repository and saying, this variable is what I want to understand. And Bianco will create all the graphs, all the interpretations of the graphs, the slideshow, and it'll do it in a matter of minutes. So it is possible. It is difficult to believe these kinds of things, which is why we had to have 24 of the Fortune 100 use what we do before people started believing it. Sorry, I rose to your beat. I had to take that one.
That's right. I agree that there are some types of questions that are asked and can be done that way, and there are a whole host of other questions that can't, that require you to understand what does it mean that somebody clicked on this, searched for that, and then ultimately bought this.
Right.
These are not generic, common repeatable questions, and they aren't done with the same algorithm that you might use to understand how different patients were treated. We're not looking for trend lines. We're not looking for things that you present in PowerPoint. We're looking at very, very specific kinds of questions. So I'm sure that there are many things that can be done more generically, but can be done, and it's very powerful. But I'm also pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of rather specific data sets that one can't just access, and rather specific predictive technologies that are optimized for specific types of industries.
So that the first phase of analytics that you're talking about was all about what data says. What does this label mean? The next phase is about what data does. So one of the fun things I do is people believe this is not possible, so we go in and change the word gender to fruit and male to pineapple and female to tomato. And the software will happily say when fruit is pineapple, this is what happens. What it's doing is saying when this thing happens, I see that thing happen. And it can do predictive models from it, descriptive models from it. It's a different paradigm, and this is not just Bianco doing it. Other companies are trying to do it too. We're just a few years ahead. But this exists today, so it's easy to prove it.
Well, every morning when I go to Google News and I read the news about cloud computing. And to this day, for that particular search continues to confuse actual cloud computing news with cloud news, as in weather, cloud, things in the sky. Even though I've done that same search, for like 500 days in a row, and I'm thinking Google algorithm still mixes up cloud in the sky with cloud computing. I feel like we're still at the beginning of all this. That's my point, which may or may not relate to what you're talking about, but that's the personal experience I had.
First, James.
Please, Mike.
If I could.
Yes, and tell us about the future while you're at it. Did we lose Mr. Matchett?
No. I guess I was confused on what I was hearing. First, James, if you do something 500 days in a row and it still doesn't work, I think that's kind of the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
So you might want to tune that search.
Yes.
You might want to tune that search a little bit and put some minus.
Right, and the thing is, I search for cloud, not cloud computing, so I'm being a lazy searcher, but I want them to realize that on those 500 days, I've always clicked on cloud computing links, so don't they realize, hey, this individual does not want cloud news. But anyways, go on.
All right, well, which also brings up one, where's big data going 3 to 5 years from now? I think one of the frontiers yet, and we're sort of dancing around the edges of what's causation and what's correlation, and can we turn correlation into causation? And that's not even a big data problem. That's just been an ever-present data statistical machine learning problem. I think another problem we have is transparency. Google getting sued by the EU to say, hey, we don't understand what your search algorithm's really doing and recommending to us. It goes a little bit to Joel too, who says, while I can give someone an operational piece of intelligence and advice, if I haven't been able to explain how I built that and I don't have the transparency to actually dig in to understand why I'm getting that advice, maybe I'm being manipulated, maybe I'm missing something, maybe I'm being steered in the wrong direction subtly to go in a different direction. I think we're going to see all these problems written big with big data, and I think that's kind of what we're going to be doing the next 3 to 5 years, is trying to straighten that all out and do it with some more advanced work, like what's going on with some of the other panelists here. So I also like to see, I'm also expecting to see more clearinghouses of more broader data sets out there where people can go and get their hands on larger, more public available data. I think that's going to be a big thing and combine it with data that they have, and also publish data that they have in a more secure manner, and that they know it's not going to be misused.
Well, that would suggest there's going to be big data aggregators out there that'll make a business out of building those clearinghouses.
And I think there already are. If you look at some people with data sources that you can go and subscribe to, you can. And some of them are media companies, James. So
I'll try to pay attention to that.
Yeah, yes. Some of them will do that. I think we're going to see more large-scale graph kinds of databases, and people talking more about that. We've gotten away from talking about relational databases and talking about big data, it's unstructured search kind of way. We're going to start talking more about related data because it's a more natural way to model a lot of scenarios and find relationships. And I think we're going to definitely see more machine learning come to play and done at a big scale. So it's not just going to be Watson. We're going to have things baked into our Internet of Things, and the edge devices will get smarter and start to make operational decisions on their own without us being in the loop. So
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah. Or more likely, no, your house should be this temperature. No, I'm too hot. No,
Right,
you're wrong.
right.
It's
Yeah.
going to be this temperature.
I think that's a really important point, and that's the key thing here is to keep people in the loop. This is when we talk about the technology being a black box. Here's some data, here's some processing, and there's your output. The reality is these are tools, and these are part of a living, breathing sort of organic system. So when we look at the impact of the technology as it applies to our customers, it can be very transformative, right through from discussing what the data is and how do we implement algorithms to actually do the day-to-day crunching of the data, right through to the impact of the social collaboration side of things. Now you've connected people to this data. We actually have one customer who's redesigning their floor plan and moving desks around because of the impact of the social side of the process. So, and also taking feedback as well. The algorithm doesn't live in a vacuum. When you see this data, when you see the fact that you've received some information about weather, you have the opportunity to go in. Tools should be provided to allow the user to go back in and tune the data and say, okay, this is very interesting. This correlation that you've come up with is very interesting, but it has no operational impact or value. So please don't show it to me again. And that functionality should be built into the system because you have to connect it to the people and people and purpose.
Sounds good. People and purpose. We're going to have to watch as time goes on. I appreciate the four of you and your expertise. I will send you a link. We can all tweet it. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.